So, how do we factor? Remember the first one here? The idea is you want to look for two numbers that multiply to 32, and those same two numbers add to negative 12. What would they be? Okay, good. So once again, you have to know your multiplication well here, negative 4, negative 8. Once you found that, then just write this in bracket form, x minus 4, x minus 8, you're done. Okay. Now, for part B, you have this number in front, which is negative 2. Before you think about, oh, I got to do that choose method weird thing, may I always remind you to please factor out the GCF first. If there is a greatest common factor amongst all three of those terms, you must take it out first. And in this case, let's take out negative 2. Please be careful with your signs, x squared, right? And then positive 16 divided by negative 2 is negative 8. And then negative 32 divided by negative 2 is 16. If you leave your answer like this, I'm not going to be very pleased because you can go further. So I hope you can factor this. Two numbers that multiply to 16 and add to negative 8.
8 and 8.
8 and 8? No. Not 8 and 8. 4. Yeah, negative 4, negative 4. So x minus 4, that's okay. And please write this as negative 2 bracket x minus 4 all squared. Okay? Now, for part C, this is one of those special cases. Anyone recognize what this is called? Difference of squares, right. Difference of squares. All that stuff from grade 10. Aren't you glad you did grade 10? Difference of squares. Remember, a squared minus b squared is the same thing as a plus b and a minus b. Okay? So when you see something like this where you have a something minus something out, assume that it might be a difference of squares. And to do this, my advice to you is, can you tell me what a and b are? Because if you can find those out, all you need to do is just put it into the lovely equation. What's a, everybody? Yeah, it's 3x, right? 3x times 3x gives you 9x squared. And what times what gives you 25?
5.
Well, that's just 5. You've got a, you've got b, plug it into the formula, and you got 3x plus 5, 3x minus 5. Good stuff, good stuff? Awesome stuff. All right, D. Here is where it gets more interesting. Notice here we've got an a value of 3, okay? But you can't factor out the 3. So what can we do here? Now, there's many ways you can do this. There's guess and check, there's decomposition, there's choose method, whatever else you did. I'll use choose method to show you once again. If you didn't learn choose method and you learned something else, that's fine. Use whatever you got, okay? This is what I do for choose method. Listen up. Listen up then. Okay. Here's what you do. You take the a value and you take the c value, you multiply them together first. What's 3 times negative 4?
Why did you change it to 3?
Negative 12. So what I'm going to ask you to do is find two numbers that multiply to negative 12, and those same two numbers add to negative 1. Okay, so this is kind of like what we just did up top for part A. Okay? What are those two numbers, dear friends? 4 and 3. One of them has to be negative. Which one's negative?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Good. So the steps at the beginning are pretty much the same. And I'm going to ask you to once again write this as x minus 4, x plus 3. Okay? Now with choose method, this is where you have to do a little bit extra. Yeah. I want you to take each number and divide each number by, each number by that a value, which is the 3. Okay? And then I want you to simplify. So the key step with choose method says, let's take each of these numbers, the 4 and the 3, and we'll divide all of them by 3. And let's see if you can simplify. Now for the first one, 4/3, can I simplify that? Not really, that's already in lowest terms, so leave it alone. How about the 3 and the 3? Can I simplify that? That becomes 1. So let me ask you to rewrite this as x plus 1. And we'll just copy down the other one, x minus 4/3. Okay? That's good. So you simplified. But then most of the times we don't want fractions, so what can we do with that 3? that's where you actually do that bottoms up. You just take the 3, stick it next to the x, so 3x minus 4. Okay? And so your final answer should be this. Okay? Now, for those of you who use some other method, you could do that. Would you like me to show you the other methods or no?
No.
That's okay?
Which is the best, like, honestly?
Which one's the best? The one that makes sense to you.
Which was the name?
What
Where
was
the
the
negative
easy
one
to use?
come from? I forgot.
Okay?
Yeah, and you
So it always adds like whatever the two numbers.
Yeah, so
adds
once
up to the
again,
middle value.
the two numbers must add to the middle value there. Okay?
So that was a 2, then it has to add.
Okay, try E. Let's do try E. Let's do this together then. Help me out. Two numbers that multiply to what?
-10.
Yeah, so two numbers that multiply to -10 because it's 2 times -5. And those same two numbers must add up to -9. Go ahead, find the combination, please, and try the rest on your own. Okay? Okay, for part E, if you're not too sure, I think the combo that works is 10 and 1. Which one should be negative? The 10, so I'll write this as x minus 10, x plus 1. And then remember the key thing here is to divide both sides by 2 and simplify x minus 5. By the way, x plus 1/2 I can't simplify, but I don't like fractions, so I'll move the 2 up to the top. Did you get x minus 5 times 2x plus 1? Now, once again, the order doesn't matter as long as you have those two terms. Okay? All right, and F really quickly now. Someone help me out. What should I do first? Factor out the GCF. Thank you. Which is -10. I prefer to take out the negative as well because I want the stuff inside the bracket, at least the first term, to always be positive. It's just nicer that way. 6x squared plus 5x. And then, minus 6. Okay? Keep working. What's the actual answer here?
-10.
-10. And what do we have for this stuff?
2x plus 3.
Is it 2x plus 3? Maybe should I do it or should I just write down the answer? Just write the answer. Okay. 2x plus 3.
3x minus 2.
3x minus 2. Cool. All right. Good. I trust that you all passed Math 10. If you forgot that stuff, that's okay. I hope you get it back up to gear. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do some more complicated ones now. Welcome to grade 11. Now, let's see how you can factor these things. Now, I'm just going to show you one technique, and hopefully you can use that technique to help you out. Does this kind of look like what you had up here in A? A little bit. What's different, though? It has an x to the power 4, right? Instead of x squared, it's x to the power 4. Instead of x, it's x squared. But you know what? I don't want to show you new things. I want you to use the old method. Now, to use the old method, can I ask you to do the following? We're going to make a substitution. Choose your favorite letter. My favorite letter is A.
Yay, Riley.
No, for Amos. You can use L. You can use Q. Just don't use O or I. Okay? Now, here's what I'd like you to do. Can you make a substitution for me? I want this middle term just to be x. So I'm going to say, or something with just one, I guess, one thing. Let me ask you to do this. Let a equals x squared. Okay? Now, if a equals to x squared, how does this change? Well, the 18 is still there. The x squared now becomes the letter a. Now, what about the thing in front? A squared. Good. So I hope you can understand that x to the power 4 is the same thing as x squared squared. And if I make x squared equals to a, this becomes a squared. Can you factor that now, dear friends? Mm-hmm. Do it. Find two numbers that multiply to 18, add to -11. So what will they be? -2 and -9, thank you. So a minus 2, a minus 9. Okay, and once you get to this stage, you're like, hey, that's nice. But I'm saying, not so fast. You still need to do something more. Substitute it back in. I'll call it resubstitute. Okay, resub. Okay, resub it back in. So instead of having a, I'm going to replace this with x squared. So this becomes x squared minus 2. And this becomes x squared minus 9. And now, you are not done yet.
Square thing? Difference of squares.
Yeah, can you see how not the first one, but the second one here is a difference of squares?
Oh my god.
So you need to not only just factor like that, I want you to what they call factor fully. So if you can still see that you can factor, you better do it. X squared minus 2, I'll keep as is. But what's x squared minus 9 equal to? Yeah, difference of squares. X plus 3, x minus 3. Now you are done.
Wait, why don't you separate the first one?
Well, because 2 is not a perfect square. You could use root, I guess, but then it's messy too. People usually like nice integer values, Jap. Okay? All right. Now let me show you B, and then I'm thinking I'm going to let you try C and D on your own. Use the same idea for B. What would you want me to let equal to A to make this look nice? 5D minus 1. Good. Okay. A squared minus 9A plus 20.
What?
Can you see what I just did there? Wherever you see 5D minus 1, I replaced it with A. You got this nice little thing. Is that easier factor? I hope so. Help, help, help. 2 numbers that multiply to 20. Add to negative 9. 4 and 5, yeah. Negative 5? Negative 4?
4 and 5.
Okay. Negative 4 and negative 5. Good, good, good. Leave your answer like this, and I'll be so sad. Remember, your A value is 5D minus 1. So watch, I'm going to try to color code this. 5D minus 1. Okay. Minus 4. And then I'm going to have 5D minus 1 minus 5.
Do you have to like put a bracket around 5D minus 1?
Okay, if you want to put a bracket, you can. You don't necessarily have to in this case, because it's starting at the front. If this was in the end, the back, then I would definitely say put a bracket. Don't leave your answer like this. See if you can simplify. The first bracket here, 5D minus 1 minus 4, that just becomes minus 5. Don't say 6. And then 5D negative 1 minus 5. Here you go. Now you can say 6. Minus 6. Leave your answer like this, and I'll be like, you're almost done.
Oh my God.
What else can you do? Yeah, there's more. That 5, that is a common factor here. So from that first term, I'm going to suggest you factor out another 5. So 5 bracket D minus 1. And this one over here, we can't. So ladies and gentlemen, that's your final answer.
Right?
Okay?
Kind of like, you know,
It's factor mania today. Factor,
it's like a
factor,
big jumble, and then
factor.
you have to like piece by piece.
That's right. Piece by piece, step by step. I'm going to let you try C and D, please. So I'll give you a few minutes to try this. I'll give you a hint for C. What do you want to let equal to A? How about 1 minus 3R? Okay? Go ahead. Try this. Have some fun. Okay, let's do this. I will ask you to factor this. 2 numbers that multiply to negative 10 add to negative 9. This sounds familiar. I think it's 10 and 1 once again, right? So A minus 10, A plus 1. Don't forget to divide by 2. And if you simplify, I guess you get the following. I'm going to skip a step here. Agree? Good. Now, be careful. This part is tricky. Let's replace A with whatever we had before. So instead of having A, it's now 1 minus 3R minus 5. And then, instead of having 2A, watch now. The 2 is still there. What's A? 1 minus 3R. And this time I'm going to force you to put a bracket because I'm taking 2 multiplied by everything inside that bracket, which is the A value. Then plus 1. Leave your answer like this, and I say,
Why do you hate us?
okay. So let's continue. 1 minus 5, negative 4. So that's what you have. Shh, quiet please. Okay. Distribute this. 2 minus 6R plus 1. Okay. Don't forget to simplify just a little bit more. Negative 3R minus 4. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 minus 6r. You leave it like this, and I'm still not going to be happy.
Oh my god.
Why?
It's killing me.
Factor out the 3.
Factor out the 3. Yeah. So I can factor out the 3. 1 minus 2r. Okay. And then most of the times we don't like putting the number in between. So what we'll do is we'll write the number in front, 3, and then I'll say negative 3r minus 4, 1 minus 2r. And that would be a nice factored form. If, hold on, if you actually made this negative 3 by factoring out a negative from the bracket here, that's also fine. It's up to you.
Hey, but then
So, hold on. The other answer that I would accept would be negative 3 bracket 3r minus 4, 1 minus 2r. That's also fine. Okay? Either or. It doesn't matter. In the end, for our purposes, it'll be the same.
You know how you factor
Actually, it
out
should be
the
plus 4.
3?
Plus 4. Plus 4.
You know how you factored out the 3 down?
Aileen says, do you know I factored the 3 down here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put it in front of like.
I put it in front of everything.
Everything?
Yeah. Because it's
Doesn't that change
multiplication.
it?
Multiply, multiply, and multiply. Doesn't matter what order it's in.
Yeah, I see.
It doesn't matter.
Does it matter if we put the 1?
No, it doesn't matter if you put that other way around too, if you wish. Okay. Okay, let's do D. I like D. What do you think we should do with D?
Something.
Can you see how there's a square minus a square? What's that then? Difference of squares. So when we do difference of squares, my advice to you is, can you find out what A is and can you find out what B is? Let's do the easier one first. Let's do B. If B squared is this 4x minus 9 all squared, what's B? Just itself, 4x minus 9. Good. Now, what's A? Careful. A squared is 9 bracket x 8x minus 7 all squared. So what would A be so that when I multiply it by itself, it gives you that? Yeah, it's just the square root of that. Good. What's the square root of 9?
3.
Good. What's the square root of 8x minus 7 all squared?
8x.
8x minus 7.
Oh,
Good.
I get it.
There's your A value. Okay. And now, since you identified A and B, just plug it into the formula of A plus B times A minus B. Get ready for some bracket action. Here we go. A is 3 bracket 8x minus 7 plus B, which is 4x minus 9.
Sorry for the
Okay, and then we have A, which is 3 bracket 8x minus 7. And be careful here, this is minus B, and notice why I'm going to put a bracket around the 4x minus 9. Because that negative applies to both of those terms in there. That's where people make mistakes. I hope you can see what I've done. I've tried to color code things. Okay. And then, can you now use your algebra skills to try to simplify this for me?
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Yes. 3 times 8 is 24x. 3 times 7 is 21. Same thing on this side here. 3 times 8 is 24x. 3 times 7 is 21. But here's the part that is scary. And this is where most people make their mistake. Negative times all the things inside the green bracket. Minus 4x plus 9. Okay. And then continue to simplify. Oh, no. 24x plus 4x is 28x. Negative 21 minus 9 is negative 30. And then 24x minus 4x is 20. Negative 21 plus 9 is negative 12. And if you think you're done,
No.
you're never done. Okay. Keep going, please. What can you factor out from the first bracket? 2. Nice. 14x minus 15. What can you factor out from the second bracket? 4. Nice. 5x minus 3. Leave your answer like this, and I'll be like, better, but still not done. Because you've got a 2 and the 4 here. Can't you combine those together? Yes. Now we are almost done. 8 bracket 14x minus 15 This is an exciting long journey. There you go.
Done.
If I box it, I guess we're done.
Okay.
Okay?
He's boxed it.
Now, by the way, this is all actually not even section 4.2 yet. This is kind of review.
Oh well.
Are you moaning online there too? Yes. Okay. Now, don't turn the page yet, please. I have a little blurb that I want to talk to you about, and this is really the idea of section 4.2, okay? Now, some quadratic equations have solutions that can be found easily by factoring, okay? That's what we're doing today, we're factoring. There is a property called the zero product property that states if the product of two real numbers is 0, meaning if I have two things multiplied together equals to 0, then one or both of those numbers must be 0. Meaning the stuff in the first bracket must be 0, or the stuff in the second bracket must be 0. Therefore, the roots of the quadratic equation occur when the product of the factors, when those two factors, multiply or equal to 0. And these are what we call the solutions. Now, remember last day we went to the graphing calculator, we found solutions? Well, let's go ahead and try the first one together. Don't turn the page yet, okay? Remember this first one here? X squared minus 12x plus 32? Last day, this is what I asked you to do. You type it into your graphing calculator. You went and graphed it out. You found a nice window. Let's go standard window. You got a nice picture. And then what do you do to find the zeros? Second calc, choose 0, find the zeros, right? Or you can go to the table feature and look at that. Oh, look, the zeros there at 4 and also at what value? 8. Now, today, what I'm telling you is this. You can do this by algebra. Watch first, okay? How can you do this by algebra? Well, the idea is I'm going to make x squared minus 12x plus 32 equal to 0. Now, can you factor this for me? You did already, didn't you? X minus 4, x minus 8 equal to 0. What does that property state now? If I've got two brackets multiplied to 0, either the first bracket equals to 0, so either x minus 4 equals to 0, or the second bracket, x minus 8 equals to 0. Solve for x here, dear friends. X equals to? X equals to? Isn't that the same thing as what I got in my graphing calculator? 4, 8, done. You did this before, yeah. So it's not that hard. Ladies and gentlemen, guess what I'm going to ask you to do now? If you turn the page, I want you to now solve the following equations. Okay, here's what I want you to do first of all. First thing I want you to do is when you say solve, this means that the factor equals to 0. So let's race. How fast can you put equal to 0 in all these? Go. Change that to 3, by the way.
Did you fill in the bottom?
Yes, I did.
What was it?
I'll do that in a sec, okay?
Okay.
Okay, make them equal 0. Those ones too. Right. Now, be thankful that I gave you the exact same questions, because if not, you'd have to factor a whole bunch of things again. Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Okay? Now, here's what I'd like you to do then. Don't factor them all again, just go dot dot dot, and I'd like you just to copy your factored form from before and actually just solve for the answer. So make this equal to 0, so therefore x equals to 4. And by the way, you don't need to show all these steps if you don't have to either, but I'm just trying to show you what you're doing. So those are your answers for part A, okay? I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes to find the answers for all of these now. And unfortunately for me, too bad they're on different pages. So perhaps to help you out, I'll scroll back to the front page. At least you can copy the equation again. Okay? All right, and I'll go over them afterwards, but give yourself a few seconds to... I've just given you the first answers to the first part, okay? Now, can I just warn you about the next part? I think these first ones are pretty straightforward. By the way, when you have a fraction as an answer, that's perfectly fine. Don't freak out, okay? If you're not too sure how I got the answer for a fraction, let me show you for part D here. The idea is you make 3x minus 4 equal to 0, and you're just solving for x. So 3x equals to 4, and then from there x equals to 4 over 3. So that's how you do it. Regular grade 8 algebra. Let me now go down to this one, because this is where it gets kind of messy, okay? For part A. When you factored this, you got this, okay? And then when you tried to solve, I saw many of you write this down. Over here, you got x equals to 3. Correct. Over here, you got x equals to negative 3. Correct. Over here, you got x equals to root 2. Incorrect. What did I forget?
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus. It says x to the power 4, so we should expect 4 answers. Why is there a plus minus? Remember, when you are making this equal to 0, you are solving x squared equals to 2. And when you take the square root on both sides, don't forget the plus or minus. Okay? Now, let me finish off B, C, and D. B, you had this as your factored form. Some of you decided to say, okay, this one I get an answer 6/5. This one I get an answer d equals to 1. And then I saw this. 5 equals to 0. Does 5 ever equal to 0? Yeah, all the time. No way. So therefore, 5 does not equal 0. There's no answer there. Okay. Now you might be thinking, why do we even have the 5? Well, you really don't need the 5 when we're solving. Okay. Notice that that 5 could be divided on both sides. And what's 0 divided by 5? It's still 0. So you're really just solving this anyways. So who cares about the number in front? It doesn't make a difference. And so therefore, for the ones underneath, I believe this one equals to, is it negative 4/3 for R? And 1/2. And then x for this one, I think, was 15 over 14 and 3 over 5.
Yes, very good.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the main idea for this chapter. Let's see if you can continue this idea by trying the question on the next page. Notice example number 1. Yes, we're now doing example number 1. I'm asking you to solve this equation. This looks scary, so I'm going to ask you to please simplify it first. Okay? Perhaps you want to distribute and simplify, so let's do this one together.
It's not mine.
Whose is this? Oh, this one. Okay, expand and simplify.
Wait, can I have it to copy things down? Let's have to go in like later. Can I copy it later?
Just look at it online.
It's online. 23.
Okay, go ahead, expand, simplify, and group all the terms together. So I'm going to ask you to put all the terms together. Okay. 3x squared minus x minus 2. My advice to you whenever you do these is after simplifying, group all terms on one side. Okay. You want to make sure that one side equals to 0. So what's this? 5x squared minus 3x squared is 2x squared. I think I get plus x, which is 16x, and then plus 14. Okay? And once you get to this stage, guess what? You can now factor and solve. So please try this on your own. Rahul will give you a hand if you need a hand. Okay? And then we'll try one more underneath. Ouch! My watch is not okay.
Oh, no, mine.
Okay. What can you factor out, dear friends? 2. Good. X squared plus 8x plus 7. This is nice now because the a value in front of the x squared term is just 1, so that's nice and easy. X plus 7, x plus 1. Don't forget you want to solve. Make this equal to 0.
How'd you get? Oh,
Okay. And there you go. 2 answers. Okay. This one says the following. You've got a water slide, and it ends with the slider dropping into a deep pool. So think about like this. Okay, you're, in the slide, and then all of a sudden, woo, the slide goes down, and here's the water. Okay. Now, as you drop into the pool, your height changes. So the path of the slider after leaving the lower end of the slide can be approximated by this function. H of d means that h is the height above the surface of the pool. It's the vertical height, okay? Now, what's d stand for? D stands for the horizontal distance. So as you go down the slide, Your vertical height changes, but so does your horizontal height, okay? You don't drop down like this, you kind of drop down like that, right? So this equation, all right, connects the vertical height with the horizontal distance, which is a little bit different from your projectile questions, because your projectile questions always have the variable being t, or time, okay? The question I have for you is this. What is the horizontal distance the slider travels before dropping into the pool? If he drops into the pool, what is his vertical height? 0, right. The pool has a vertical height of 0. It's on the ground. Okay? So the idea here is I want you to take the equation and make h equal to 0. Now, let's write this down, please. And then now some of you are going to be thinking, ew, I hate fractions. Yes. So what can we do to get rid of the fraction? Yeah, so let me ask you to times everything by 6. What's 0 times 6? That's 0. Don't say 6. Okay, this is now negative d squared minus d plus 2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I personally don't like negatives in front of my square term. Ah, thank you. What should I do with the 2? Times it by 6, that's 12. Good. Remember, every single term must be multiplied by 6. Okay?
You multiply 6 where?
Multiply 6 in every single term. Now, as I was saying before, I don't like having the negative in front, so I'm actually going to ask you to multiply everything by negative 1 as well. What's 0 times negative 1? That's 0. This just becomes now d squared plus d minus 12. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 different equations here. They look totally different. But let me tell you that the actual zeros, or the x-intercepts, are all the same. To illustrate this to you, I'm going to ask you to bring out your factoring calculators if you have one. And if you don't, just watch me. But what I'd like to do before we actually solve this is I want you to graph out all 3 of these equations. The one in the blue, the one in the red, and one in the green. And watch what you get. Okay, so I'm going to do this, negative 1/6 x squared minus 1/6 x plus 2. Underneath, I'm going to type in negative x squared minus x plus 12. And then also I'm going to put in x squared plus x minus 12. Right? 3 totally different equations, but watch what happens when I graph them out. Here's the first one, the negative 1/6 one. Here's the next one, the negative d squared one. And then here's the other one.
But they'll have the same.
So let's just quickly maybe change my window a little bit. But what did you notice about the x-intercepts for all 3 of these equations?
They all have the same.
Even though the equations are different, what's the same? The x-intercepts. So that's why when you solve these equations, it doesn't really matter what you have, if you have a fraction or not. As long as you make them all equivalent, the x values should still be the same. So, make a note. X-intercepts are all the same. So, ladies and gentlemen, because they are all the same, which one of these equations should I use to try to factor and solve? The easiest one, which is, of course, the first one? Okay.
No, don't listen.
I won't listen to them. I'll listen to myself. Okay. And then you solve. You get the answer. D equals to negative 4. And D equals to 3. Are you done?
Are we done for today?
Are you done?
Yes.
No.
Why?
Okay. Think about what we're talking about here. What does D stand for? The horizontal distance.
Find the actual answer.
Can the horizontal distance be negative? Really? Well, we're talking about distance, okay? So we can't really go backwards in time or backwards in distance. So therefore, in this case, our context says that, hey, your distance can't be negative. Your only answer is D equals to 3. So when you solve these questions, please be careful. Look at the context of the question. Sometimes you might get 2 answers, but one of them does not make sense. Okay? I'm going to quickly try to finish off example number 3, and then we'll stop for today, okay? Let's do number 3. No? Okay, number 3. Number 3 is actually not too bad, except I'm now changing things up, okay? Instead of me giving you the equation and you finding the answer, let's do it the other way around. So I gave you the answer, you come up with the equation. Ladies and gentlemen, if I told you that one of the answers is -2, what's the bracket that produced that answer? X plus 2. Good. It's always the reverse. How about the number 5? X minus 5. And this is supposed to equal to 0. Go ahead now and just multiply this out, and we're done. X times x is x squared. X times minus 5 is minus 5. 2x minus 5 is 10. Go ahead and simplify, and look, ladies and gentlemen, you are done. Okay? Now, you try the next one, okay? The next one has 2 answers as well. One of them's 3. I think that one's easier to deal with, so I'm going to do that first. X minus 3. And the other one's 0. So what would I write as a bracket here? You can just write x minus 0 if you want. But what's x minus 0? That's just x. So you can just write down x like this. And don't forget, I still want you to simplify. So why don't you expand? That just becomes x squared minus 3x equals 0. Okay? I'll give you a few seconds to try part C. Okay? Try that. D, can someone help me out? If the root is 2/3, what goes in the bracket here? X minus, well, I'll do this first. X minus the fraction 2/3. And how about the other one here, the 1/5? X minus or x plus? Right, reverse the sign. X plus 1/5. Now this is supposed to equal to 0. Remember how we can now, if you don't like fractions, change them around, move it up. 3x minus 2. And then 5x plus 1. And if you left it like that, I'd be okay. But if you can do one more step by expanding and simplifying, I'd be ecstatic. 3x times 5x is 15x squared. 3x minus 10x minus 2 equals 0. How about this as your final answer? Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I stop talking, because I know you want me to stop talking, in terms of your homework, you should be able to do all the questions here. But let me ask you to do the following instead. You have a quiz next day, right?